name is Miles Morales. I'm Brooklyn's one and only Spider-Man. And things are going great.
Oh, yeah. You were supposed to be here at 5.
All right, whatever.
Whatever?
Wow.
Whatever?
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
Today we're covering Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes, this long-awaited sequel follows Miles and Gwen as they must stop the new villain, the Spot, from destroying the Spider-Verse and every Spider-Person within it.
And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get ready some future podcasts and one of Paws videos.
Absolutely. So first thing I'm going to say is I feel cheated and lied to by the trailer because it shows us Gwen and Miles, the one shot they were in for the ship. In the rest of the movie, they're not a ship.
Yeah, which is a kind of a surprise because of how much people really love them as a ship the first movie, and then they say, we didn't want to focus too much on it because it would overtake the movie, which is believable. So they said, okay, we'll just put in the sequel. So we were excited. Okay, we'll see them all together in this movie. They really didn't do that much. I mean, they had the ship teasing it a few times, like some people shipping them, but that's it.
Everything we saw in the trailer was the ship.
That was it,
He
yeah.
comes and asks what he's doing, and then where they're sitting upside down on the building, and then it looks like they're gonna hold hands, but they don't.
Yeah, because she made a comment that there's some universes Spider-Man dates, there's a Gwen dates or Spider-Man dates or something. You're thinking of this lean towards something.
Right.
And at that time they just stay friends, and it's like, okay, which direction are you going with this then?
Well, we don't know because this movie does not make that clear for you. Throughout the movie, you're kind of gravitating to friends, and well, I guess that's not true. I take that back because he takes her to meet the parents, so I guess they are
going towards ship.
Yes, they're going towards ship. So maybe in the next movie we'll actually get to see the actual ship.
Right.
Okay, so that being said, we were really excited about this. The first Spider-Verse movie was perfect in every way. Mm-hmm. It couldn't have been better. There was nothing they could have improved except for making it longer.
Right. This one they made longer. So.
It was the penultimate of movies that year.
Yes.
Absolutely, positively, fantastic cast. Groundbreaking animation that's being copied by everyone since.
Right.
And we think because of that, they decided to change the animation style for this movie.
Right. So much so that they're now just doing a bunch of different styles within their own style. Now you've got a black and white aesthetic. You've got the cutout paper magazine type aesthetic. You have Lego in here now. You have just look like hand drawings. You even have a little bit of live action sprinkled in with a few live action actors appearing in here, and they're just in the animated world. That kind of was a surprise, but I guess it worked out since the animation was really praised for going beyond what they usually do.
And so did the box office. The budget was $100 million. The movie made $688 million. So yeah, it went beyond. I personally really liked the aesthetic of the animation in the first movie, and we know there are going to be people who like the first movie better, and there are going to be people who like the second movie better, and there are probably going to be a few that like both.
Right.
For me, I think I love the aesthetic of the first movie. It was beautiful, and it just had a theatrical quality to it. You knew it was animated, but like we always say, animation is for everyone, and animation is cinema.
Right.
And to me, the first movie was more cinematic in terms of being like a theatrical movie than this one. This one seemed to have taken a different route, a different approach to telling the story, which is fine. I just like the aesthetics and the animation of the first movie better.
Right.
But you're right, they did go beyond in striking out to do a whole lot of different visuals, making it more stimulating. It definitely, absolutely was more stimulating.
Right.
It was really kind of static the entire movie. You had very few scenes where there was honest.
Right,
And
that's
unfortunately, those scenes were where Miles was not getting along with his parents. They were going back and forth. Also, when he took Gwen to meet his parents.
Yeah.
And then in the final scene, where you have the revelation of a new villain, so to speak. If you haven't seen it, there will be spoilers in here later.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than that, it was pretty static throughout.
Right. And it's also now holding the record for the longest animated movie ever made. It holds over 2 hours. Usually most movies go slightly over 90 minutes or 100 minutes, but this one actually managed to go a full 2 hours. And the thing was...
Actually longer, 140 minutes.
Oh, there you go. So, the thing is for this is that when you watch it, depending on how you feel about the movie, you either don't realize it's been an hour or you can't believe it's been an hour. Because for us, it was like, you know, we were really into the story and waiting for things to happen. We kind of thought the in-dimensional thing was going to happen a little sooner. And when we looked through the clock, there's going to be like a runtime for it, or we checked the time, and it was like already halfway over by the time they got to the Spider Society part. And we're like, half the movie's over and we're just getting into it. That almost didn't even feel right. They spent so much time on the spot and showing what's going on with Miles that you only get half of it.
Very true. And once that comes in, maybe that's the way it was written to be. That arc takes over the rest of the movie. You don't really go back to the, I guess, the civilian life anymore.
Right.
It all gets taken over by the Spider Society arc of the movie.
Right. And once you get there, there will be a difference here between this and the first film, is that you don't really have the appearances of the other Spider people you met in the first one. There's no Spider-Man Noir. Well, there's a Penny Parker cameo. You wonder what the hell happened to her. There's no Peter Porker. They're just not in here, which ends up kind of raising some questions when it gets to a certain plot point later in the movie when it comes to the events of different Spider people. And here they end up kind of going through more like a rapid fire roll call of all these different Peter Parker in every universe they could think of. It's like, oh, well, look, everything is a Peter Parker, everything is a Spider-Man. You had your main ones you saw the first movie, you get new ones in this movie. You don't just get different ethnicities and nationalities and species, you even get a car, you get a vampire.
It made me think of Speed Buggy.
Yeah, Peter Park's car. I'm like, okay, who came up with this? You get Legos, you get cowboys, you get ninja, vampire stuff from the video game stuff from the live action movies. MCU is canon, and it's almost like you get a cat, you get a dinosaur, you get like literally Spider everything, and I'm surprised if Bowser's head didn't explode from all that.
Yes. So quickly before we get to the different version of Spider-Man, we have to give a shout out to the cast: Shamik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Brian Tyree Henry, the main three. Then you have Lauren Velez, Jake Johnson, Penn and the Parents, Jason Schwartzman, Issa Rae, Karen Sony, Shay Wingham, Greta Lee, Daniel Kaluuya, Marshall Ali, Oscar Isaac, and many more playing some versions of Spider-Man.
Yes, a lot of
some cameo appearances by Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield,
and Josh Keaton.
Yes, I wanted you to say it for me. Josh Keaton. And as you said, some live action versions, forgive me. So now, let's get to some of the appearances of some of the Spider-Men. Now, this film, I also wanted to say, is very different. I think because there's more production companies. You have Columbia, Marvel Entertainment, Sony Pictures, Pascal Pictures, Lord Miller Productions, and Arad Productions. And I think all the production companies helped to create this really different feel for this movie. And I think that included the many different feels of the different Spider-Man versions that appeared. And I'm going to say Spider-Man versions. I'm going to say Spider people. Just Spider-Man versions.
Right. So, don't blame me there.
Now, one big one that appeared before we get to your favorite, who I really end up liking, that I didn't expect to like was Spider-Punk. I
Right.
seen pictures of him just with the hood on, I guess you could say, or the mask.
Mm-hmm.
And you really don't know much about him except for that he was a rebel.
Right.
He's a
Sort of
rebel.
anarchist.
Right.
Fight the power type of
And
character.
a lot of the pictures had him with his middle finger up, and that's about all you knew. When you got to the movie and he appears and you hear him speak and you hear him, tell about what he does, and especially in one point in the movie where he ends up being the only Spider-Man version to have a conscience and some morals and some values, where he refuses to be involved in the chase and
Right.
quits. I'm like, I like Spider-Punk, and I didn't expect to have that
Right.
happen.
And definitely different change from the comic, because really most people didn't know who Spider-Punk was, and it seemed like they only wanted him for a certain group of people who read his comics. So that's why people really either didn't care or didn't know. But now with this altered version, this one has become more personable and likable.
And Miles said, "You're even more cool without your mask."
Right.
That was so funny. Yeah, he is. And again, the one that's supposed to be the revolutionary, the anarchist, is the one who says, "I'm not doing this. I quit. For the record, I quit."
Yeah.
And he leaves. And he was the only one. And we'll get to that part shortly. So we had the appearance of your favorite, who was really adorable. That's the only way to put it.
Yes, Spider-Man India.
Yes. And that was one of the best scenes in the movie. His appearance, him being in Mountbatten, and seeing the events that take place there. Miles saving the dad and was the sister or brother?
No. Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I thought it was gonna be, yeah.
And all of that was just great. The scenes were fantastic. It was the only fun part of this movie in terms of having a segment that's full of joy. And I want to just clarify that.
Right.
This movie really was not a joyful movie. It really was truly meant to be more one of friction, of angst, of problems,
identity, and
then a little horror mixed into it.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be like the first movie, and
Right.
it wasn't. They succeeded.
Right.
But this segment of the movie that included your favorite was the best part of joy in this movie.
Yes. And finding out he's voiced by Dolpinder from Deadpool was even better. It's like, oh my gosh, they made him even better. And I remember his scene when they showed a trailer ended up becoming a meme when it said, "Oh, I love chai tea." What'd you just say? It's not chai tea, it's chai. Chai is tea. It's like, oh, he's gonna a breakdown over this.
I won't make that mistake again. Just like everyone else.
No,
Chai tea,
yeah.
chai tea, please. Yes.
Yeah, everyone's just gonna say chai. Yes, and what also stood out was that he was one of the few Spider-Men that didn't have baggage or crap happen,
Right.
which leads into what the main conflict was going to be for the movie, because apparently they have this thing called a canon event with Spider-Men across different universes and different media. And Miles, as you said, ended up saving the dad, saving the sister, and saving the girlfriend. So he didn't lose anybody in this one. He was grateful to him that he helped save all three. And then to find out for the Spider Society, that was a bad thing apparently. And they kind of altered what was done for the first movie, explaining, like, for the original Peter Parker, losing Uncle Ben was what triggered the events of him becoming Spider-Man. And here they call it a canon event. And it's actually become now a fate for Spider-Man, where he has to lose somebody to trigger the start of his Spider-Man journey, or it's an event. And majority of the Spider-Men across the multiverse have lost an Uncle Ben, a brother, a friend, father, or somebody, an Aunt May. So it's now become almost a must, according to this movie, that Spider-Man must lose somebody for their event to happen. So when he prevented it from happening to Pavitar, they were saying that should have never happened. And then it came to Miles that he's going to lose somebody again for his canon event.
And before you explain why we both had a problem with that, someone explain to us in the comments below, if this is this a movie version where the characters are aware that they're in a movie? Because why would civilians or common people, superheroes, be using the word canon?
Right.
A canon event. And it's like, why? How do they know
Yeah.
it's supposed to be canon?
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right. And with that comes this problem. They're saying that Miles has to lose his dad for his canon event to be triggered. But here's the problem. He already lost his Uncle Aaron in the first movie. And then he had his realization, his leap of faith scene, which became the most powerful scene of the first movie. If that happened, wasn't that his canon event already? Why does he have to lose his father too? Granted, his uncle wasn't a hero, but it was still he was still somebody he cared about. So there's a plot hole. At least to me, there's a plot hole here. He already lost his uncle. Why didn't he lose his dad too? He technically already had his canon event, and he's already become a Spider-Man. And then it becomes an all-out chase scene to either take down Miles or keep him there and let the event happen and just let the dad die. And it actually becomes just really dark after that point, because it's like he's asking, you know, this is really messed up. You're just gonna let someone die. You know you can help because you think it has to happen. And that ends up being like one of those morality questioning type moves, and it really takes you by surprise because you're not expecting something that huge to come up, and then the movie just takes a real dark turn after that point.
And you don't expect all of the spider people to agree with this. Now, we forgot to mention that Spider-Man 2099, Miguel is the head of the Spider Society.
Yes.
And this guy is maniacal. He is crazy. And we have the comics, so we should have seen this coming, but he seems worse in this version of the movie. And as we did mention, he's a ninja vampire.
Yeah.
And he seems really messed up in the head. And what I didn't understand, during this movie, you have all these versions of Spider-Man. Why were they all afraid of him? The way it was set up is that they were all afraid of him. And they were going to do what he said because they were afraid of him. He can't bite and kill them all at the same time.
Right.
And they're supposed to be the good guys, like Gwen says.
Right.
So why did they all just cave into what he said? Number two, when they locked Miles away, tried to lock him away, and he broke out, they were just sitting there and going to let it do it, tell him just sit there and wait and take it. That was exceptionally cruel. And then three, after he broke out, it was obvious that Miguel was going to kill him. He didn't want to just stop him. He was upset that he wasn't going along with the plan, so he was going to kill him. And when Gwen and Peter B. Parker were going to stand there and let it happen, all they were saying was, wait, why are you wait? For this movie, the way it was written, it didn't even seem like the characters, because in the first movie they never would have done that, especially Peter B. Parker. But in this movie, everyone was just satisfied to sit back and let him kill him.
Yeah, which is, and it's not trying to misunderstand what's going on. I mean, we were watching and paying attention. It just seemed like something's really wrong here. Why is this happening? Why is this in the story? And we know there are some people that like these types of stories where the villains or the person you thought was a hero turns out to be a villain, gets really cruel, it gets really hardcore. And we understand that a lot of people that do like that type of thing in the movie, and it's part of why this movie made so much money by having such a different tone from the first one. So we're not insulting anybody who likes these twists and the feel of this movie and feel like it's been elevated. It's great that you find something great in this movie, even if we happen to disagree. It's just that we feel like it could have been something else altogether. It didn't need to go that far. I mean, I guess they're allowed to say hell and damn and some other things in movies now uncensored, so I guess now I said, hey, how far can we push cruelty in a kid's movie or family movie now when we're testing that out with this movie? And it's just, considering how the first one was and the tone of it, you knew it wasn't probably going to be the same tone exactly in the next movie.
Exactly.
You just thought maybe, hey, 1 hour of the fun, then 1 hour of the dark and the action, so it was balanced. You really didn't have that. You had 5, maybe 10 minutes worth. You had some comic relief with the Spot. You had the fun part with Spider-Man India. You had some good jokes. You did actually have a laugh seeing all these different spider people and the Spider Society and laughing at all these crazy combinations and crazy alternate versions. That stuff was fun.
And seeing your favorite cameos. I don't know they were cameos. They were like quick shots. Not even cameos, but you were happy to see those as well.
Right. And there's still a lot of great things about this movie. It's just the biggest issue for us in the story is this Ken event scenario. It really changes things for this trilogy. And now with how it ends, we don't know how the third one's going to be, especially with the writer's strike and the animators, some of the animators quitting because they were worked too hard and they weren't getting breaks. So we are hoping that when they get to this third one, maybe they can find some type of balance again to where it's like, hey, we got this dark thing going on, rescue mission, save the multiverse, but we're still going to have some fun in it because you got the whole original cast coming back plus some new people. We're hoping that, the third one will have more of what we're looking for from the first one. And that's it. Because we know how much people really love this movie. And we enjoy it to a degree too. It's just, we just kind of enjoy the tone and the style of the first one more. And that was because we've seen it like 5 times.
And last 2 things we want to bring up. As you mentioned, how the movie ends. I have to say I wasn't surprised. To me, this movie had a lot of Disney elements in it. So when the person in the mask showed up, my mind clicked and said, hey, we haven't seen this Miles in the universe. It's got to be him.
Yeah.
And you said, no, it's a girl. I'm like, no, it's Miles.
No.
And sure enough, it ended up being him, his own villain. And then it looks like Gwen and her team that she's leading is going to be the one who saves Miles Morales, which kind of fits with a lot of the theme of a lot of movies, shows right now, of the female protagonist being the one to save the male protagonist.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's how it's going to play out. That's how it appears.
Yeah, it could be different by the time they actually make the movie and it comes out. Just like how this one ended up being different from what the first one left off when she saw Miles again.
Right. So the last thing I want to bring up is the music. It was really different from the first one. The soundtrack for the first one, every song in it you just enjoyed and loved. It meshed with the scenes, it meshed with the action, it meshed with the emotions and everything. It was like a perfect soundtrack. This one I don't enjoy as much. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm saying that it didn't have that vibe to it like the first soundtrack did for the first movie.
Right.
If you don't agree, that's okay. I just like the vibe feel for the first one.
Right.
But all in all, you can see why this movie earned over $600 million. And it definitely is, it's going to get to over $1 billion with digital and DVD sales.
Right.
There's no doubt whatsoever it's going to make it to that.
Right.
So if you have any comments you want to make on what things stuck out for you, what made an impression for you, and what seems special to you, let us know in the comments below.
Right. And if you haven't already subscribed for updates and weekly videos, very anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. So if you've seen Across the Spider-Verse, let us know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't, it should be out on digital and DVD by the time you're hearing this. Give it a watch and let us know what you think as well.
Right. So, thank you so much for watching, Mascara Teamers.
And the Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.